your camera, all right? And when you are doing your presentation, all of you, I need you to turn on the camera. I won't keep eye on you, so please don't worry on it. If you have any worry, just like me, just wear a mask, all right? So that's what we will do today. And there's several reminders. Later on, you can go back and check in the chat room. I have already pasted something. So let me take a screenshot first. Who is in the middle? Okay, let me see how many of us are here. Oh, two. Who are the two that's not here? There are two not here. Oh, just showed up. One, can you put your head forward because right, yes, over too small. And okay, great. So let me count. Still one missing. Anyway, let me take a screenshot first. And I'm going to do the roll call. All right. I will do the sharing and a roll call here. So one is not here today. Cindy?
I'm here.
Okay. Jason?
I'm here.
Maureen?
I'm here.
Bruce? Bruce?
Here. I'm here.
Right. Thank you. Ivan, I think you're here.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy? Oh,
Yeah.
Jeremy will be a little bit late, right?
Yeah. The finish. The presentation finished. Yeah.
I just finished. Okay. Carl? Carl?
I'm here.
Thank you. Emily?
Yes, I'm here.
JD?
Here.
Nina?
Here.
Candace? Spelling.
Here.
April is here. April, are you here?
Yes, here.
Ethan?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yes.
Angel here. Jenny?
Here.
Okay, please mute you can mute now. And let me I will show you later. Could you please go to, because right now I'm on the chat room, you should be able to see several documents, including the link for submitting your question through Google Form. So by the end of today, please just follow it and just submit your form. And we will follow the question pattern last week. We will see how fast you can type your question. So we will arrange that in order to do the asking, just like what we have done last week. Because last week we have used this way and it runs very smoothly, and also other sections. So all the 4 sections will follow our way to do the QA part. Today we have 5 presenters. So we will allow one more question. So we will allow 6 questions. So today, presenter, you will have to take 6 questions. So everybody will ask enough questions in order to submit. All right. And there should be enough time because last time we have 6 presenters and this time we only have 5. So I guess we will have time for all of you to ask questions. So let's welcome the first presenter to do the presentation. Thank you. I will stop the sharing.
you guys see it?
Yes?
Okay. So can I start?
Yeah, you can start, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny. So before I start my presentation, I want to ask all the females here, if you accidentally pregnant, will you consider abortions as one of the solutions? If yes, please help me to press the raise hand button, please. Okay, thank you. I saw you guys. Thank you, and you can put your hand down. And so, yeah, whether to legalize abortions or not has long been a controversy over times around the world. So today, I'm going to talk about how legalizing abortions and the availability of contraceptive pills integrate with the reproductive justice agenda that protects women and their rights. So this is my outline. First of all, I will read through my thesis statement, and then I will dig into my 4 main ideas, and then in the end, I will give you guys a brief conclusions. So this is my thesis statement. First topic, legalizing abortion allows doctors to provide professional abortion treatment to pregnant women, protecting women from the dangers of clandestine abortions. Second of all, legalizing abortions can also reduce the threats of internet partner violences by offering chances for women to escape from abusive relationships. And moreover, the legalizations and the availability of contraceptive pills can effectively reduce unintended pregnancies and thus reduce the dangers and the demand of abortions. And lastly, both legalizing abortions and the usage of the contraceptive pills protect women's rights to body autonomy and reproductivities. So in the first sections, I would talk about what are the clandestine abortions and why they are so dangerous, and give you guys some examples to prevent it.
Can you slow down a little bit? I think you're speaking very fast. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so many people would considering that setting strict restrictions on abortions would reduce the demand for abortions. But in fact, that's not true. It only puts women into a more serious situation because those women would search for the clandestine abortions. So what are the clandestine abortions? According to Guido, it is a procedure for terminating unwanted pregnancies, which carried out either by first, person lacking the necessary skills, or second, in an environment that does not confirm minimal medical standards, or both. So as you can see that legalizing abortions are extremely dangerous. So about 40, according to the statistic, about 30% of the women suffering from serious complications of clandestine abortions, such as sepsis, uterine preparation, chronic pelvic pain, and etc. And about 70,000 maternal deaths per year directly because of the clandestine abortions or because of the complications of it. So if we assume that, and if we assume that abortions are legalized, so here are the 2 examples. So in Guyana, because of the liberations on the abortions, so the abortion-related complications was cut by nearly half. And another example is in South Africa, because of the lifted restrictions on abortions, the death due to unsafe abortions dropped by half within a year. So that leads to our, so all the examples and the statistics shows that legalizing abortions do have positive effect on ceasing, legalizing abortions do have a positive effect on protecting women's life and also prevent them from the serious consequences of legalizing abortions, clandestine abortions. Sorry. So in my next sections, I would talk about how legalizing abortions can reduce intimate partner violences. So, okay, as you can see in the chart, it shows the physical violence that the pregnant women receive from the men involved in the pregnancies. So there are the 3 dotted line refers to the women who abort during different stages of the pregnancies. And in the middle, the solid line refers to the woman who didn't abort and gave birth to the infant. So as you can see, the solid line did not change. And so it means that the pregnant woman constantly receive the violence from their partners, although they're pregnant. And for the 3 dotted line, it apparently goes down. So the decline means that the pregnant women receive less and or no violence after they get abortions. So that leads to a conclusion that abortion do have positive effects on ceasing intimate partner violence. So what are the reasons for this phenomenon? So for those women who having a baby from an unwanted pregnancies often result in sustained physical violence over time. And comparing to those women who terminated unwanted pregnancies, which allows them to avoid constant physical intimate partner violences. So therefore, having a baby with an abusive man compared to terminating the unwanted pregnancies makes it harder to leave the abusive relationships. So that leads to our main ideas that legalizing abortions can reduce the rate of internet partner violence by offering chances for them to escape from the abusive relationships. So in my next sessions, I will talk about how how the usage of contraceptive pills can reduce the demand for abortions. So here's examples in So here's the examples in Netherlands. In Netherlands, abortions is legal, safe, easily available, and also free of charge. But paradoxically, it is also extremely rare. But how is that happens? It is because the cost of the birth control pills were fully covered by the Dutch government, and which means that the birth control pills are free for all Dutch men and women. So that leads to a situation that the Dutch women are less likely to get pregnant, and also the occurring pregnancies are less likely to be unintended. So therefore, although the services for the abortions in Netherlands is easily to get, but few women really get it. So here are the quote from here are the slogans from the female movement in Brazil. It says that contraceptives to prevent abortions and abortions to prevent death. So because the availability of the contraceptive pills can reduce unwanted pregnancies, and therefore it reduces the demand for abortions, and especially for the clandestine abortions. Okay, in my last sections, I would like to talk about why legalizing abortions and the availability of contraceptive pills protects women's right to body autonomy and their right to reproductivities. Yeah, and so the definitions according to the Christian, the definition of the body autonomy refers to the right to governance over one's own body and to make decisions about one's physical self. So legalizing in the aspects of legalizing abortions, women can govern over their body because it enables them to choose whether to give birth to a baby or not. And in the aspect of usage of the contraceptive pills, it allows women to make decisions because about their physical self because it enables them to decide whether to be pregnant or not. And for the reproductive rights, according to fine law, the definition of it is include an individual right to terminate pregnancies, use contraceptives, and gain access to reproductive health services. So for legalizing abortions, apparently it gives the women's right to terminate pregnancies. And for the usage of the contraceptive pills, it gives obviously it gave the right to women to use the contraceptive pills, right? And another is that it allows women to gain access to reproductive health services, such as the free diagnosis or easy to get the health service informations and so on. So in conclusion, legalizing abortions can protect women from the clandestine abortions and the intimate partner violences because it provides women a professional abortion treatment and also provide the chances for them to escape from the abusive relationships. And second of all, the availability of contraceptive pills can protect women from the dangers of unintended pregnancies because it reduces the demand for abortions. And lastly, both legalizing abortions and the availability of contraceptive pills can protect women's reproductive rights and their body autonomy rights. So in the end, I want to proclaim that women should no longer be seen as the attachment to male or reproductive tools. They should be regarded as individuals who belong to themselves. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. We allow 6 questions. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all of you will lead your own QA part, all right? So, Jenny, yeah, we can look at the chat room and start to the QA. Call the one that asks you questions to state the question. You have to say the question on your own. The first one is, you will call a name just like what we have done last week.
Okay. Carl.
Hi, so I want to ask you that because I do hear that some people say that abortion, they consider it a form of human murder. So I want to ask your opinion about it. So do you consider abortion a form of human murder? Why or why not?
It depends on how long the woman has been pregnant. So if the woman had like the baby have the heartbeat and also have the movement, I think that is kind of the murder of a life. But as I said in the presentation, that abortions because the baby live in the mother's stomach, right? But mother's belly. So mother have the right to control whether to give birth or not. And because having a baby or not also causes a lot of effects, whether good or bad effects on the mother. So although I consider it is some kind of murdering, but I still consider that a mother have the right to control it. Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Jason.
Hi, Jenny. I
Hi,
think your presentation is really informative, and I have a question: is that will abortion harm women's body? Like, cause we have women have to conduct it by medicine or some you know artificial way. So I'm wondering whether it will harm women's body. Yes.
Thank you. So, yeah, abortion do have the some cause some harms to women's body, of course, and also it depends on which stage you are in during the pregnancies, and the longer you get in the pregnancies, and the more damage or more harms you would get. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Emily.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
My question is just like the Jason's, and I have heard that some reports show that having an abortion will hurt woman's body. So, if having an abortion is legalized, how to solve this problem?
Just like the presentation I've said, if legalizing abortions have like more insured when women get abortions, because if you set restrictions on it, the women will not cease to gain to receive the services of clandestine to receive abortions, and they would go find a more dangerous way, which is the clandestine one. So setting abortions do need the laws to control it, but it allows women to get more professionals and more safe abortion treatment. So I think, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Maureen,
Hi, Jenny.
hello.
First of all, I love your idea and your presentation very much. And my question is, after legalizing abortion, is there going to be a regulation on how much the normal abortion is going to cost? Because if clandestine abortion is going to be much cheaper than the normal ones, will there be a concern that people are will still be going for clandestine abortion rather than normal ones because it's costing too much?
Okay. So maybe when we said legalize abortions, we can like lower the fees of getting abortions, and just like I mentioned, like I provide the examples, like in Netherlands, all the abortion treatments are free, so women will not get abortions, would not go to clandestine abortions, and they would rather to go the legal abortions because it is free and it is more cheaper even than the more cheaper even than the clandestine one. Yeah, thank you. Jeremy,
Okay. Hi, Jenny.
hello.
I think your research is your supporting details are very convincing. Really great paper. Yeah, and I want to ask you like, what do you think about Taiwanese females' understanding of contraceptive pills? Do most Taiwanese women know how to use them? Because these pills have like there are some pros and cons of these pills, and do you think they are educated to know like whether to use them or not?
Okay, so there are two kinds of contraceptive pills. It's before the sex and after the sex. So before the sex, it have many benefits. Besides, you can like avoiding unintended pregnancies, and also you can like changing your period time, make it more regular. But for the next another kind of the contraceptive pills, it is it do have harms to women's bodies. So in our education, sex educations, we should like know should like provide many informations for those girls and also boys, like to tell them the difference of them and also what are the benefits and cons of them. Yeah, thank you. Ruth.
Hi, Jenny. I like your presentation.
You.
Yeah, I want to ask you, and some religious groups may hold negative opinions about abortion, and how will you argue with them to let them accept your idea?
So for those people who refused to get refuse the ideas of legalizing abortion, they can like mainly divide into two kinds of reasons. First is like the Carl said, it is unhumanizing and it is also the murdering. And another one is because of a religious causes and religious beliefs. So for those two kinds of reasons, it can also it can like I can respond them that it is a right that because women are the one who pregnant and who give birth to the children. So they have the most right to control their bodies. So Yeah, so if you respect lives or any human, you should also respect women, like regard them as important as the infants in their bodies. Yeah, so I would say that to them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's all.
Great. Okay. Very good
Thank you.
presentation. Only that you're too nervous.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Sorry,
all
I
too
can.
fast. But the QA part is nice, and you make good
you.
PowerPoint slide. The next one. Let's welcome the next presenter. Next presenter, Candace. Candace, I think I received all 4 PowerPoint slides except yours. Have you uploaded? If not, could you please do it right after your presentation? Upload it into OneDrive, okay?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So you may start now.
Can you see my slide and hear me clearly?
Yes?
Okay. So, hi, I'm Candace. I'm from Section B, and today I'm going to talk about the General Data Protection Law, GDPR, in the age of big data, and we'll look into the Cambridge Analytica scandal later. So first is
yes? Background noise.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not your problem, but you need to speak louder so we can hear it more clearly, all right?
Okay, I'll try.
Thank you.
So first part is my introduction about big data. It's set far away from our everyday lives. And GDPR, the law, focuses on providing users with autonomy by regulating the data controller to offer reasonable purpose for data processing, and second, to make data flow and use transparent to the public so as to eventually empower individuals to make conscious decisions for their digital footprints and personal information. And next, I'm going to talk about one issue. If you can recognize these 3 terms, Cambridge Analytica, 2016 USA election, and Facebook, you probably know what I'm going to talk next. So first, I'll talk about the thesis statement. So in a highly digitalized society, the data-driven technology has made it inevitable for us to trade parts of our personal information for convenience and welfare to some degree, but it calls for a more ethical and transparent approach, which informs us to what extent his or her data would be collected, stored, and used by organizations so as to prevent potential crises to ensure rightful data application. And we particularly look into the kind of conflicting interest between personal privacy and research innovation, and we'll look into the information asymmetries and power dynamics between individuals and firms. So next, I'm going to talk about Cambridge Analytica. So in 2010, over 50 million Facebook's users' personal data is harvested and sold to an analytic company called Cambridge Analytica. Their digital footprint includes Facebook likes, friend list, and their results of a personality task called "This is Your Digital Life" are turned into infer data, and these companies can use these personal data to infer their political inclination and make highly personalized targeted advertising based on these information. So, in response to the heated debates about unethical big data applications, in 2016, European Union established the General Data Protection Regulations to solve this data breaching problems. And my presentation will show you, is GDPR effective? If it is, it's beneficial for whom? And next we'll look, since GDPR is regarded as the strictest data law up to date, we would probably suppose after this law being established, a number of data breaching cases and personal data crimes would decline, but it's actually the opposite, because just in the past year, the fine amounted to about $1 billion $0. So it's happening now. And next, I will walk you through the 3 stages of data extraction and show you how GDPR can protect our personal privacy and how it's not. So first, in the collection stage, GDPR regulates that data controller should be able to specify what purposes it is they should collect and use your data and how it will later be used. And in the storage state, data minimization provisions state that they should be able to keep a minimum amount of data so as to prevent cybersecurity problems, and so they can use it for other purposes that exceed the purpose they stated for. And last, in the usage analysis phase, I will talk about data portability, how it can eventually democratize the data markets and how it can foster fair competition in the data market. And this is a movie about big data use. So first, purpose limitation collection. In the collection stage, GDPR, as Zubov believed, it can eventually foster personal data autonomy since it provides users with the right to consent and the right to explanation. So the right to consent means they have to provide, data controller have to provide you an explanation of how they use, collect, and analyze your data, and the right to explanation should explain what method do they use. But in practicality, Van Ujam proposed that information paradox might eventually hinder users from understanding their digital contract like terms and conditions. And Andrew and Max further opposed that terms and conditions often fail to be a legitimate digital contract since it might free companies to implement questionable data practices as long as they are accurately reported. And according to Van Ujam, it would take about 33 days for an adult to finish reading the terms and conditions, so it was really unlikely for users to fully understand their data rights and their autonomy over these digital contracts. And in the second phase, in the storage phase, GDPR proposed that companies should not store so much data in their database. One reason is that it can prevent either internal or external hacking of their personal data as long as the data is kept as long as necessary and just adequate amount. And one common approach is pseudonymization. It's a de-identification technique that substitute personal information that can be used to identify you with tokens and only keep the necessary information for analytical purposes. But in practicality, big data requires lots of data, so impeding data flow in any forms might eventually harm the development of big data. And due to the black box algorithm, it's really unlikely that the firm or the data scientist can actually fully understand the content of how this functionality of the algorithms. So last is data portability. So what it means that users can require an access to their data. Like I can ask Google to give me my data provided by myself, and I can oppose that I want to revise or I want to transform my data from one platform to another. So Zubov and Zarsky proposed that it can prevent data monopoly and democratize data market since everyone can gain access to the shared data pool. And they further addressed that the right to be forgotten actually empower users with data autonomy since before this law, users will be unlikely to know how much data the company store in their database and how they use. But in practicality, the asymmetries of knowledge and power dynamics actually hinders users to execute their data rights, and a lack of incentives and different attitude toward the state law actually hinder the cross-national cooperation to provide and foster the build of this shared data pool. So in conclusion, by presenting the problems in GDPR, I want to raise awareness of personal privacy and data autonomy. And I propose that data autonomy should be seen as personal rights. In the collection stage, purpose and consent often fails to be a right representation of users' will to share the information, and thus we call for a further revision on this. And in the storage state, data minimization approach to anonymization should be further improved by providing a more specific language to prevent legal loopholes. And in the usage phase, GDPR is on the right way to provide users with data autonomy and to build a shared database for future innovation. But we need to consider data is not like an invisible object, and the intangibility should be reconsidered when we think about data portability. So thank you for your patience, and this is my work cited. Thank you. My presentation ended.
Okay, yeah, just follow the pattern. You can see who answered your question and call your name, okay?
Okay. So first one is Carl. Do you think that protection of should we ask Carl? Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. No, I just want to ask because it's an argument I think in European Union and also many other places in this world, is that some people might think that the protection of personal privacy and also net neutrality will lead to crippled technological development in the future. Do you think it will lead to that, and why will?
So just to confirm that you mean data protection law will harm the development of big data? Is that your problem?
Because some
so
people say that. I just want to ask, do you think that, the protecting personal privacy, we need to sacrifice technological development to protect personal privacy? Do you think that's true or not?
I think to some degree it is true because, like in my presentation, data protection law actually have to decrease the volume of data collected to some extent. So in some part, it will impede the development of big data since it requires a big volume of it. But eventually, what data protection law wants to propose is that we should seek a more human-centered way, more transparent way, not just the company can centralize these data without informing their users. We should find a more ethical way. Yes.
So you mean ethicality is the thing, and also we need to kind of balance between the two sides.
Yes, we kind of have to strike a balance between technological innovation and human rights. Yes.
Thank you.
And next one is April.
I want to ask, what is your opinion on the personal information safety? You can do things.
Like I saw some reports that you can use VPN to protect your digital footprint in some degree, but I think that the reason why we need data protection law is that now we don't know how much information a company collect from us. Like they can have our location, they can have our address, and combine them all together and sell them to an advertising company without our consent. So what we can do is that for one way we can use tools like VPN or other cybersecurity apps, and another is that we can as much to decrease our digital footprints on the internet. Yes.
Thank you.
Next one is Jenny.
Oh, Candace, I think your presentation is good. And I want to ask you, because you have mentioned the data rights. So I want to ask, how can we set laws or restrictions or the legal legislations to protect data rights? And also how can we balance the rights, the human's rights to get information? Thank you.
So I think the one major direction right now is to as much to inform their customers. And one way you frequently used right now is terms and conditions, but as in my presentation show, it's really hard to understand as an individual. So one way is to make it more easily comprehensible as possible to general public. Yes.
Thank you.
The next one is Ethan.
So as the big data era comes, like individuals are mostly powerless in facing the information gap or the asymmetry of information. So on personal level, what could individual do about the protection of their own personal data, other than like methods you mentioned, like VPN or pseudonymization, something like that? Other than that.
Other than that, I think first important part is you have to be aware of your digital footprints. And second is to learn how to manage your digital footprints. And last, if your personal information are sold with your consent, you probably wouldn't know, but if you do, just try to seek legal help from public sectors. Yes.
Can you give a more concrete example, like how to be careful about your digital footprint? Because right now we are all on the web, right? For example,
Yeah.
I type these here, and how to avoid. Should I just delete everything? Or I think when you answer, you can be more specific, right? Use some more concrete examples, or right. So any concrete example?
I mean, because there are so many activities we do online, so it's really hard to specify each one. For example, like we can choose which browser we use. Instead of Google, we can choose Tor browser that collect less digital footprints. And in terms of cyber security, you should probably add a robust one instead of just download a random apps online. And I think although we know that social media platforms are collecting our personal information, we're still going to use them. So I think what we can do is to keep it to the minimum and randomly parse and clean your data online.
Okay, there's still one question. JD.
JD.
What do you think that how could the government do to help to protect personal data of the public?
How can they do it? Because as I believe, it's like how to say that in economics. Um, Government should be able to provide either incentives or they have to put some punishment on these wanted or unwanted business activities. So how government can do, one, they can promote more research on these legal studies and craft a more robust legal framework. And another is to generally foster cyber education.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Big data, I think it's not an easy topic, but for English major, I really will encourage that if you are very interested in technology, next academic year, there is one very senior alumni from our department, and he is the CEO, supervisor of one large company. He's going to give a class here. You should take his class and get to know him, because another purpose for him to teach here is he is also looking for some very good potential, right? Potential one to work in his company, right? He actually gave a lecture last academic year. So right now he's willing to teach next academic year, but I don't know whether it will be fall or spring. So just keep your eye on whether there are any information in on the pre-registration. He is affiliated with one very large tech company, 上市上柜公司 called 金城. If you check 上市上柜金城, and he is originally from that company, and right now open other company in the United States and also French company in the world. So even for English major like us, if you are good at linguistics, you can do parsing, you can do tech. There are many things you can do and work in a tech company. It's very potential. Okay, that's thank you very much, Cadence, and let's welcome the next presenter. Next presenter, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Evan, and today I'm going to talk about, is vaccine mandate a reasonable act? And before we go into the contents, let's take a look at the table of contents. So first we will have introductions, and we will talk about the background of the issues. And then we have two contents. We will provide some news in the world, and of course argument, and then the conclusion. Okay, so what is going on? Let's talk about the backgrounds. So who would have thought in 2019 that the pandemic would go on for 2 years and 2 years and counting? And this pandemic has totally changed the way of our life and had a huge global impact in terms of economy, health system, and people's livelihood. So the governments, health organization, and scientists trying to find a solution to this pandemic. And so far, the best way was the vaccine. So basically, the scientists believe that once the vaccination rate hit above 80% in worldwide, and we can achieve herd immunity, and hopefully we can end this pandemic very soon. However, the variants like Delta and Omicron came up, spoil up the plan, and making the pandemic last even longer. So as the response, the scientists suggest that we should take even more vaccine, like second dose and booster shot, in order to deal with it. So everything seems to be okay so far. However, the problem started to appear when some governments are making the vaccination a mandatory act, for example, and punish the unvaccinated for their choice. For example, countries like France, Greece, and Germany are holding a tough attitude toward these vaccine issues. And people in this country who refuse to be vaccinated will be fined for thousands of dollars every month, fired from their job, and also restricted from certain areas. So let's take a look at some cases. And this is
Sorry, can I interrupt you? The rest of you, please turn off your camera because I couldn't see Ivan's face. And Ivan, I need you to move a little bit forward so I can see your face because your head is being cut into half. I can only see mostly. Yeah, it's more clear. Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes. Okay, please go ahead and continue. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Okay, so here is news from January. The biggest supermarket chain in Australia, which is called the IGA. And with the government's approval, they banned all the unvaccinated people from entering the store to purchase anything. And similar cases also in France, which the laws bans unvaccinated people from any restaurants without the vaccine passport. And also here in New York, from January, the city governments imposed the vaccine mandate and require all the workers in the city to be fully vaccinated. And if you don't want to take the vaccine, you refuse it, you will be fired. And as a result, more than 1,430 people, which is mostly firemen, teachers, nurses, and the police, had lost their job in a span of only 1 month. And here in Austria, and also February, the Austria Congress had passed a bill to fine the unvaccinated people who are above 14 for $4,000 US dollar for every month. And here's the picture is the people go on and protest against the law. So apparently such a coercing policy imposed by the government, regardless of people's willingness, has clearly violated their freedom of choice and their basic right. And I believe in any condition, people should have the right to choose what they want to do with their body. And if they have concern, it should be justified. So here I will present an idea regarding what might cause people to not take the shot. So one of the major reasons why most people are still hesitating or refuse to take the vaccine, even under pressure, was the extremely short time to develop the COVID-19 vaccine. So and also not to mention also the lack of transparency to the safe data. And to explain the situation in brief, in the late 2020, the COVID-19 vaccine was approved under emergency situation and was granted the EUA authorization. Due to the crisis situation, the governments and health organizations have no choice but to allow the vaccine to be marketed and also injected into people's body. However, this will then be the first problem, because a typical vaccine, a regular vaccine, takes about 10 to 15 years to fully develop, and of course that including safety monitoring, while the COVID-19 vaccine, to be more specifically, the mRNA vaccine, only takes no more than 2 years to develop and put into use. So this means the whole procedure lacks of long-term safety observations. So nobody can be sure how the vaccine leftovers will affect our body after many years. And in addition, the pharmaceutical companies such as AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna keep on delaying the release of their safe data, and in which they say they need years to do so. And why? It should be the first priority, no matter under what situation they're dealing with. So it undeniably put a question mark of how reliable their procedure is. And not to mention, a company like Pfizer has an infamous and notorious background regarding their repetitions. Over the last 20 years, Pfizer accumulated a massive $10 billion penalty, and then including False Claim Act, illegal promotion of their product, and so on. You can find all the details on the violation tracker website. So untruthful work and the lack of reliabilities are the reason why many people are still hesitate or refuse to take the shot because they were not well informed about the vaccines. So I think transparency is the key to building trust between the people and the governments. After all, if the government wants more people to take the shot, instead of forcing it, they should make sure the people will feel safe and well informed. Then of course they will be more gladder to take it. So are the unvaccinated everything to blame? Is the stigmatization against them justified? So the former Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Tony Blair, uttered a shocking statement in public, which he said, if you're not vaccinated at the moment, you're eligible and you got no health reason for not being vaccinated, you're not just irresponsible, I mean, you're an idiot. But I guess he put all the blame on the unvaccinated people, which is a bit biased and not reasonable. Because the research uphold that even if you are vaccinated, you can still transmit and contract COVID-19 viruses and have a high virus load. And from that, we know that everyone shares the same responsibilities. In terms of the circulation of the viruses. So there is no need to abuse or stigmatize the unvaccinated people and bring the unnecessary burdens towards the societies. So the conclusion, maybe the government's intention was trying to deal with the COVID as soon as possible. However, any coercing policy involving criminal punishment is a top-down approach. It would damage society as a unity and further the social cleavage, bring about discrimination among the people, and creating tension between individual and the governments. Also, firing medical, police, education, workforce for not taking a vaccine could also lead to shortage of human resources and therefore create more social issue in the time of crisis. So with the pandemic gradually become less fatal and more endemic, the government should seize the chance to come up with other ways to help fight the pandemic, such as developing oral medication administrations and also advocating natural immunity instead of continuing the vaccine mandate. In addition, we need to strengthen the bond between people and the governments and the officials, building trust and reliance, and only by this we can deal with the pandemic effectively as unity. Thank you for listening, and this is my work cited. Okay, I'm ready for the questions. Okay. Okay, so the first one is Carl. Carl's best. Okay. Carl, could you?
So hi.
Yeah. Hello.
I want to ask you about, like there are some proposing the idea of medical freedom. So basically it's telling that it's my body and I can decide whether or not to get the vaccine or not. So what do you think about that? And also, what is the reasonable limit towards someone's medical freedom? What do you think about that? And any concrete examples to explain or prove your point?
Okay, Carl. So first off, I think that a person's medical freedom can be overgeneralizations because right now in this case, in the time of COVID-19, we're specifically talking about the mRNA vaccine, which is developed in a short time, and it might have some possible risk. And so that's the main point why I argue that it should be enforced onto people. But in other cases, when we are born as we are a baby, we will receive several shots, right? And that is also compulsory in some countries, but we will feel it is okay because the vaccine was using the traditional technology and it has been tested by many years. So yeah, I think we can't just holding a sign, just say medical freedom and reject anything regarding to vaccine and so on. Yes.
So are you saying that if the vaccine has been properly developed and researched and tested upon the volunteers, we should be able and it should be mandated to get the vaccine?
I think the mandate should not involve criminal punishment.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank Carl. And the next one is Emily. And
Hi.
yeah. Hi, Lo.
I want to ask, just imagine that if you have a child who is an elementary school student or only a kindergarten student, would you agree with the policy that the children should have the vaccine for COVID-19?
Okay. Several research uphold that the children's 0 to 5 years old children's, their immunity are actually stronger than adults people. So, however, their immune system are also very easy to shape. So a vaccine, an experimental vaccine, which we don't know yet about the long-term effect, might cause negative effect to the children. So in my cases, if it was my child, I would not give him the vaccine. But however, we're arguing that as long as it's not mandating, I think everyone has the right to choose you want to be vaccinated or not. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Angel.
Hi, Evan. What do you think about vacation? And as you has related to that news,
I like vacation. It's not vaccination. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And it says someone who didn't get the vaccination is adult. So, do you think those people who refuse to take vaccination is not responsible for society or for the people around them?
Okay. Because the research uphold that as I stated, the vaccine cannot stop the spread and transmitting of the viruses. So if you want to say about the societal responsibility, I don't find correlations. So I think if a person don't want to be vaccinated, it is their right and it's totally fine to do it as long as it has that reason. Yes.
Okay.
And the next one, Jason.
Hi, Evan.
Hi.
You did a good job, and I have a question. Is that do you think in the future these COVID vaccines will cause a negative effect to our bodies, to humans' body? Because we all know that before the implement of a vaccines, it must be conducted through many clinical trials, right? And it usually needs like decades. But now the COVID vaccines, it only took them about 1 year or 2 years to be injected to our body. So do you think it will cause some negative effect to human's body, like in the future?
I think it could be just because the research haven't covered for so many years, right? So we can really have a conclusion. And that's because the mRNA vaccine has never been mass injected in the world before. So, I mean, it's just too early to say anything. But if you're talking about if it might cause negative effect, yeah, it might be, but we need research to prove that.
Okay, thank you.
It's just uncertainties, yes. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. And next one is Professor. Do I have to answer this?
You can choose to answer or not answer, but that's my question. Yeah, if you got time.
Oh, okay.
I personally think you present very good, but it's only one side of the view. In our department, normally we will hope that you will still see views from the other side, so it's more balanced, right? Yeah, that's why I raised these questions. So I can argue with you of some of your points, so I just type it here. Okay.
Okay. So our comment in not getting vaccinated is a human right. I think what I stated, I stated that not getting vaccination without being punished is sorry.
Yeah, I know that you have said that before. I agree with you. Yeah, but I think for those like us, we got vaccination. I still believe that it will help hold the pandemic become more serious. So there's one point in your presentation that I do not really agree, right? So I want to raise this point. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more question for Evan?
Yeah, April raised questions.
Okay.
I think Sandy is before me. Sandy.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sandy.
I'm sorry, Sandy. I'm sorry.
Sandy first.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. And my question is, what kind of practical strategies can the government do to balance the medical energy and human rights? And I mean, I think one of the reasons that the government required people to get vaccinated is it can ease the burden of the medical system in the countries. So, what do you think is the strategies can the government do?
Okay. You're saying that the vaccine could, the pharmaceutical company and government claim that the vaccine can reduce the chance of you getting a severe symptom, right? But from the data, a couple highest vaccination rate countries like Israel and Israel or France or Germany are still dealing with the pandemic. And also cases from the Taiwan recently, there are still some people who are getting severe disease, even though they are getting vaccinated. And I think the most practical way or most effective way to balance the medical energy and human right was maybe to promote that if you only have mild symptoms, you can just stay at home. And I want governments and hopeful governments will educate people to do not overreact into the pandemic and also to cancel the vaccine mandate. And by doing these two things, you can ease the medical burden and also not violate humans' right. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And April.
Hi, Evan. I want to ask, do you think pregnant women should be vaccinated because for the baby or for the mother herself? Because it seems like the pregnant woman would be more easily to infect those viruses when they are pregnant.
I think there, is two-side argument, and of course the vaccine might provide you some protection against the disease, but also because the mRNA vaccines, they use the spike proteins as the mechanism, right? But there is no research conducted to see whether the spike protein could affect the babies in the womb. There's no research regarding that, but as I said, we need more further research to know the correlation between the vaccine and the pregnant woman and the baby. But overall, I suggest that we need more time to observe what things are going. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Evan.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Let's welcome the next presenter, and then we will have a break. No, right now we already have 3 presenters, so I think we can have a 10 minutes break. So please come back at, let me see the time, 3 p.m., 3:01. Thank you. Let's take a break. Andrew, turn off your camera. Hello, welcome back. Right now I'm going to invite the our next presenter, Carl. Are you ready?
Yes.
Great. So please go ahead.
So I'll share my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay.
See your slide. So go ahead.
Okay, so hi, I'm Carl. I'm from Section D. So today my topic is going to discuss about in Taiwan, in order to phase out the traditional energy consumption of fossil fuel energy, a shift towards the new era of energy consumption in Taiwan. And this paper is my research is trying to argue that renewable energy is better for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. So this is the outline of my presentation. So I will start from some basic information of my research. So basically just tell you guys the outline of my research, and then I'll go towards my research content, findings, data, and also some arguments. And then I'll go towards the conclusion of my research. And there will be a Q&A session for you guys to kind of ask me questions. So first, some basic information about this research. What is this research about anyway? So this is my outline. So as you can see in the introduction, I will first talk about the context of Taiwan's nuclear research program, the start, the twist of why people began to kind of dislike nuclear energy, and also the debate present in Taiwan, which energy option is better for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. So my thesis statement is going to state that this paper is going to argue about, due to reasons such as economic outlook, energy security, reliability, and also environmental sustainability, renewable energy is better for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. It's a better option. So the body paragraph, I'm first going to talk about some pro-nuclear arguments. And also I'm going to try to refute those pro-nuclear arguments based on my reasoning and my research findings. And then I will going to argue that renewable energy is the better option due to economic concerns, outlook, energy security, reliability, and also economic environmental sustainability. And in the conclusion, I will try to restate my point why renewable energy is better and also the long-term concerns of why we should make long-term concerns. So this is the second part is about my research content, findings, and arguments. Why renewable energy? So just to give you guys a bit of background information, the start of Taiwan's nuclear research program. So I don't know if you guys know that Taiwan's nuclear research program actually started as a military competition between Taiwan's Kuomintang and also China's Communist Party. So it's initiated as the Hsinchu Project. It started in 1964, and it's a kind of co-conduct between the CSSI, the Chongshan Science Institute, and also Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense. And it's a reaction, a response towards China's first successful atomic bomb detonation. And during that time, the post-World War era, China is kind of like one of our biggest threats during that time, still now. And then this program is held by countries such as the United States, West Germany, and also Israel. Israel actually helped us a lot during that time in the project. So although, like the nuclear program kind of go kind of well, but then later on, there are some growing concerns over the nuclear power consumption that led to the termination of Hsinchu project. So during that time, due to international pressures, because the US don't want us to really have the capability to make nuclear bombs. And also the domestic concern is that the research institution is really close towards the resident area, so it's kind of dangerous. So due to these reasons, the program shifted its focus from military competition purpose towards more practical civilian use cases. And that led to the first nuclear power plant being built called the Portion Power Plant. It's in Wanli district in New Taipei City, built around 1980. And the technology is actually supplied by GE, General Electric. So US is kind of happy that we make such transition. But then, so during that time, the nuclear power consumption, it looks really promising. It looks like it can solve many issues Taiwan had during that time, like environmental concerns. But then during that time, 3 major accidents happened, which include a 3 Mile accident I think in the US, and also the Fukushima accident, which, it's more recent cases, and also the Chernobyl accident. And these 3 accidents deter people's faith in the nuclear technology. So just a little bit look on the Goshen power plant here. This is the picture of Goshen power plant. So these accidents, as I mentioned before, the nuclear accidents, they took a lot of people's lives. They caused enormous economic losses and also causes really troublesome long-term environmental contaminations, which until this day is not entirely mitigated. So that people grew to dislike the nuclear energy consumption. And then fast forward to today. So in recent years, there's a debate in Taiwan in order to phase out the old fossil fuel energy, which is the better option for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. So nuclear energy or renewable energy. So this paper is going to argue that due to these reasons, and I highlighted as the red words in the slide, renewable energy is the better option for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. So first of all, I want to discuss why people support nuclear energy in Taiwan. So according to Michael Schulenberger, so he is the founder of Environmental Progress, which is an independent research institution. He says that there are 2 main reasons that people support nuclear technology. So power stability and economic efficiency are the 2 main concerns here. So people say that renewable energy is not that stable, and it's really expensive to operate renewable energy. And they think that nuclear energy is more stable and cheaper to operate. And some even argue that it's a quick fix towards Taiwan's environmental problems that we're suffering right now, like air pollution. But in my paper, I will try to argue that these are myths, like the pro-nuclear arguments are myths that people tend to believe otherwise. So in my research, I find that actually renewable energy could be really reliable and is a trustworthy energy sources, widely adopted by different industrial nations like Germany, China, and Spain. And it's actually not that expensive to operate renewable energy. So for the past 35 years, renewable energy, the price has gotten down for about almost 99% in terms of solar power. And for like wind power, I think it's about like a 7% yearly decrease, like annually. And also nuclear energy itself could be problematic. So there are some concerns about nuclear energy, like radioactive waste, and also the nuclear leaks that could really put humans' health in danger. So in here, I will try to make my arguments a bit more stronger. So I'll argue due to 3 reasons: economy, security, and environmental sustainability, that renewable energy is the better option for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. So these are the 3 crucial factors in regard to a nation's future development, according to United Nations. So first of all is the economy. So why renewable energy is better? Because it fosters better future economic outlook for Taiwan. So some people might say that nuclear energy is, it's really economical kind of option here to operate. But what they fail to consider is that there are actually many hidden costs of nuclear energy consumption. So like the high cost of building power plants, designing them, and also buying key technologies from foreign countries. These are all costly concerns. And also like, what if nuclear accident happens? This might also be a really huge economic loss there. So these are the things I argue in the essay. And that I think that based on my research, renewable energy does not have that much hidden costs compared to nuclear energy. And also nuclear energy itself is a declining or stagnating, at least, industry worldwide, whereas renewable energy enjoyed tremendous growth recently. So by this phenomenon, Taiwan is able to capitalize on this chance and develop key technologies using our strong R&D capabilities to make money and also to bolster our local economy. So this is just a graph to show you guys what I mean. So nuclear energy, as you can see, it's kind of stagnating in recent years, but has declined tremendously from 1990. And then the purple graph shows the growth of renewable energy and is projected to have more growth in the future. So why renewable energy? The second one is energy security. So Taiwan can be more self-reliant. We don't need to rely too much on foreign country when we opt for renewable energy because we can own our key technologies and that we can really make use of our strong R&D capabilities so that we don't really rely on others. And also, I argue that actually by opting for renewable energy, Taiwan can be a safer place to reside within because nuclear energy can be really dangerous during accidents or during like maybe some natural disasters like earthquakes, and also the impending Chinese invasion. So China might actually try to bomb our nuclear power plants in order to paralyze our power supply. And by doing so, if they do that, it could be really dangerous for us to live within the island. Okay, so the third one is why renewable energy. It's because it fosters better environmental sustainability. So nuclear energy is not sustainable due to its reliance on uranium-235 and also its inferior processing of the substance. So it might lead to some environmental pollutions and health concerns towards others, and also for the environment. And nuclear energy could be problematic, as I mentioned before. There are nuclear accidents, and also there are also many concerns about how it might be negative towards human health. And also by opting for renewable energy, we can solve many environmental problems and make the place Taiwan more environmental friendly, so better for the environment. So like we can, by doing so, we can achieve our net zero target and also be able to capitalize on the low carbon economy, etc. Okay, so my conclusion. So based on this information presented, so what I want to say is that the pro-nuclear arguments are missed. People tend to believe otherwise, and that renewable energy is actually pretty stable, trustworthy, and inexpensive to operate. And due to these reasons on the slide, that it's better for Taiwan to mass adopt in the future. That in many ways, we need to think about more long-term concerns instead of short-term gains when we consider energy options. So that will be my conclusion. And now is the Q&A session.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so Angel. So you asked, since the use of nuclear energy requires the base on nuclear radiation and renewable energy seems to have much. I think there isn't that much of the incentive to develop nuclear energy, at least in the future. So nuclear energy itself, it's kind of like a past technology. And so a need for society to develop nuclear energy. I don't think so. I think renewable energy has much more incentive and also advantage over nuclear energy, like in terms of better environmental sustainability, and also like at least in Taiwan's case, so better economic future outlook, and also like energy security and reliability. That I think renewable energy is the better option, or at least for us, for Taiwan to develop and also kind of just mass adopt in the future. I don't know if I answer your questions or not.
So you think maybe society can develop renewable energy instead of develop nuclear energy in the future?
I think first of all, the general global kind of trend now is more towards renewable energy. And I think there's no need for us to further. And also, it's not that environmentally friendly. So there might be radioactive waste contaminating the environment. And also, it might not be that good for human health. And also uranium itself is also not that sustainable, at least how we get it from the natural sources. And also, Yeah, I think that will be my answer for now. Sorry, I can't think about too much right now, but that will be my answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jenny?
Jenny?
Yes.
Jenny, Paul, and Nina, and then you.
So you have mentioned in your presentation that there's so many disadvantage of nuclear power. So I want to ask, then what kinds of energy can we get to replace the nuclear power that can both satisfy and provide enough energy and electric for Taiwanese, and while also reducing harms against the environment and reach the goals of environmental friendly? Thank you.
So I think it's a gradual process for Taiwan to mass adopt. So right now in the short term, I think it's still needed for us to kind of rely on fossil fuel energy and try to phase out the nuclear energy that we have in Taiwan. And gradually we need to, kind of empower our infrastructure of renewable energy, and also try to, pour into more developmental funding towards such project. And then try to at least, the government and also the companies might cooperate together to achieve, the mass adoption of renewable energy in Taiwan. And I think to gradually phase out nuclear energy, yeah, that will be my answer for now.
Thank you.
I don't know if, okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, hi, Paul. You asked that renewable energy.
Hi, Carl. So
Hi.
yeah, as you may know, renewable energy depends on natural sources that are uncontrollable by humans. So I wonder how to deal with the uncertainty of energy production in renewable energy.
Actually, it's a really good question. I think first of all, like the infrastructure that deal with these uncertain situations might be developed and also be kept in place so that we might be able to deal with these uncertain situations a bit better. And also, I think the technology itself will also improve in the future that, when the efficiency of operating renewable energy. So for instance, we might not need too much sunshine to generate enough power for our power supply, or we might not need that much wind to generate the power supply that we need for different industry and also for domestic use cases in general. And I think, to be honest, I think, yeah, so that's kind of like my answer. But I also think that maybe instead of, only sunshine or wind, we need to rely on more diverse energy option so that, these energy option could kind of help with one another so that when wind supply is not really that sufficient, we might rely on maybe, biogas supply or different supplies to bolster our energy supply and, to remain reliable on energy consumption itself.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. So Nina, hi.
Yeah, hello, Carl.
Hi.
So you make an informative presentation, and my question for you is, renewable energy in Taiwan usually depends on a certain season, like summer. Then how to make renewable energy supply the electricity of Taiwan for the whole year?
So as I mentioned before, like I answered all that, I think, first of all, the technology itself is what will improve in the future. And also different infrastructure might be built to kind of mitigate the issue that you mentioned. So why I'm saying that though, so first of all, like the technology might improve. So we might not need much of natural sources to operate the renewable energy so that it can better mitigate the situation. And then later on, I think the infrastructure like maybe for storing electricity like maybe we can build maybe more batteries to store the electricity, so that during these uncertain situations, that you mentioned that the power supply might be not that sufficient, we can utilize the electricity that we stored before to continue to operate the infrastructures. And these are some of the things I can think about now. But I think, yeah, so that will be my answer for now. Sorry, I cannot provide more information for now, but that will be my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ethan?
Yeah, hi, Carl.
Hi.
Okay, so I want to ask, like, beside the negative impact, nuclear energy right now are still the most dominant, like in terms of efficiency right now in many countries. So like, how long do you think it would take for renewable energy to be able to compete or even replace the nuclear energy?
So as you mentioned that, I think it depends on the region. So that in Europe, actually renewable energy is, I think it's like the majority energy consumption option right now. And in Asia, I think many countries still utilizes nuclear energy. So how long do you think it will take for renewable energy to be able to compete? So I think, actually, I'm not sure, but I would say not far in the future, because right now many countries are really, I would say enthusiastic, or maybe just trying to build on more nuclear and renewable energy infrastructures, and that might lead to many technologies being developed, and also it leads to better, more efficient energy consumption that in general will lead to maybe better for renewable energy to compete against nuclear energy.
All right.
So
thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I still have 4 minutes left. So Jeremy,
Yeah. Hi, Carl.
please take. Hi.
Yeah. Really good paper. Yeah, you provided many detailed and supporting details. And I want to ask you, you mentioned that renewable energy is not that costly as we imagined. So I would like to ask, is the equipment of renewable energy, such as solar panels, are less expensive to maintain compared to that of nuclear energy? Is that
So first of all, I will answer that nuclear energy, like designing power plants, like building it, designing it, it's really costly, at least in terms of my research findings. And also in terms of the equipments for renewable energy. So at least in my research findings, I find that the cost of these equipments has gone down pretty drastically. So back in the times, there was a time when silicon was like really rare on the global market, and silicon is like responsible for making of many equipments of renewable energy. So during that time, it drives up the cost of renewable energy in general and also the equipment. But then afterwards, because of the sufficient supply in the global chain of silicon, and then the prices gone down quite drastically afterwards. So I think I would say in general, the equipment of renewable energy, at least from my research findings, are less expensive to maintain in general. And also, I will also say that there are many hidden costs, as I mentioned before, of nuclear energy. Like, yeah, that would be my answer for now.
okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation and Q&A parts. So right now, let's welcome the last presenter.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm April, and today I'm gonna present my research report. The topic is Mask On, What COVID Brings to the Earth. As we all know, COVID actually damaged human health, but also damaged the earth. Why would I say this? Because according to WHO's data, that shows about 6 million people have died from the disease. The numbers of casualties are even more than those at the end of World War II. That's quite shocking, right? However, because we all have to, almost all of us have to get vaccine, and each one of us have to get 3 shots or even more. And those vaccine is like medical equipment, so that will only be used once, then we have to store it away. That will cause about 8 billion of medical waste, those doses of vaccine, and that equals to about 140,000 tons of garbage. I think this is more shocking and scary number, and it just showed in front of us. Okay, let's get to the point. This is my table of contents, and first I will briefly introduce my outline, and the second one I will talk about my thesis statement, and then decrease and increase of pollution that during the pandemic, and that part is works study page and Q&A section. Okay, and this is my outline. I divided into 2 parts. Decrease of air pollution and increase of medical and health waste. Then I will talk about it more detail in the next couple pages. And this is my thesis statement. COVID-19 brings a lot of garbage to the earth because people pay attention to epidemic prevention, which makes a lot of medical waste. Because during the pandemic, many people are panic about the virus, so they will wear masks, gloves, and something that is plastic protective mask. And people are more focused on their health than focused on the environmental issues. So that's the point today I'm going to talk about. Okay, the first one is decrease of air pollution. And today I will focus on concentration of NO2 and PM2.5 and reduction of environmental noise level. Because this is all because of the government's policies like social distancing, lockdown, and quarantine. Because people cannot go out to have fun, to do some activities, and people are not allowed to take public transportation. And during the lockdown, some of the power plants or factory are all shut down. So the concentrations of NO2 and PM2.5 are plunged down. Also because people cannot talking or walking on the streets, and vehicles cannot running on the streets. And those generators of the factories are not running. So those noise levels are also plunged down. This is very good for the environment, especially for the wild animals. But it is not only in Hubei in China. This phenomenon is happen around the world, like in United States, in Europe, or even in Taiwan. But I think no one don't like to make money. Every one of us want to make money. So it is a temporary phenomenon for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as governments want to revive the economy situation once the pandemic is over, or once the pandemic situation is more stable. So I believe that the greenhouse gas emissions will definitely soar again. And the next part is increase of medical and health waste. And this is the major factor that harm the earth. So I'm going to talk about it. The first one is medical waste. Like before that is medical equipment, which contains masks, gloves, test kits, syringe, and the needles, etc. Like we a person will wear a mask a day. So that will be 365 masks a year per person. So you can imagine how many people are living in this world. The amount of masks will be beyond our imagination. And because this is all medical equipment that, like I say, can only be used once. It cannot be used twice. So once we use it, we have to throw it away. Like the picture shows up right here is gloves, masks, and syringe, and some blue plastic bags. That is all medical equipment, and it will become the picture below. Those little blue plastic bags, garbage. And you can see that there are two people are in this picture, and they also wear a protective suit, which is also a medical equipment. So once they clean it, those suits will become one of those blue things. And the next one is ship package waste. Are we all shopping online or buying food through Foodpanda, Uber Eats during the pandemic? I think the answer is yes, because during the pandemic, people are afraid to go out to eat in a restaurant. So even when people go out, they will buy food to go, and that will produce some like containers for food, those boxes, and the plastic bag. In fact, the one who invent the plastic bag is for the purpose of protect the environment, is environmental friendly things, because plastic bag is strong, it can be reused. However, I believe once we open it, we will throw it away. So it becomes single-use plastic. Then the things that you're buying online that ship to your home, that process is so-called carbon footprints. So carbon footprint is the things that will also increase during the pandemic. And those plastic bags, boxes that you create will become the picture below, the mountain of garbage. And there are thousands, tens of thousands of this kind of mountain around the world. But we are still creating it, but we are never climb it. Maybe we just like to create. And this picture, I think, is worth 1,000 words. We don't know where our garbage goes. Maybe in somewhere in the middle of Pacific Ocean, but the waves will bring those garbage back to us. It's not those garbage is not disappear. It just not appear. So think about it. And this is my conclusion. COVID-19 will have positive and negative impact on the environment. Like the positive effect is reduce of air pollution and environmental noises are down. But like I say, it is a temporary phenomenon. It is not the real solution for the Earth. So most importantly, as a global citizen, it is more important to protect the environment, not just for our generation, but for the next generation. We have to leave a beautiful, clean, safe planet for them. And I think this is a mission that we should think about it and deal with it. So let's protect this beautiful planet together. And this is my works cited page. Thank you.
Okay, very good. It's very nice to see that there are more of English majors focusing on the current issues, and it's related to social issues and also our environment. That's nice. So now let's open floor to Q&A parts.
Okay. I think the first one is marine.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, April.
Hi.
First of all, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And my question is, since you brought out a lot of current issue that was caused because of the pandemic, do you think there is the most efficient or the most possible way that we can balance between these two incidents, since the pandemic was like a sudden issue? So how do we balance between protecting the earth but also saving people's, also protecting human health and human lives?
Okay. Because we cannot avoid wearing mask, because we have to wear mask when we go out, or we have to get vaccine. So those will be a real things. So we have to think on the other side. Like when we go out to buy food, we can bring our own food containers. So we will reduce those boxes or plastic bags to be produced. That will make this a little effort that will also help the earth. Yeah, I think. Did I answer your question?
But I have another concern, is that during this period, actually, I did something. When I went to buy drinks, I tried to bring my own water bottle to them and ask them to pour it in. But their concern is, because of the current situation of pandemic, they are aware of whether this will be like another spread to other customer or to themselves if I just bring my own containers to them.
Oh, if that is a concern, then maybe you can not take the bus, not take the taxi to the barbershop. You can just walk to the barbershop. So that barbershop. So that will be the maybe another solution for the containers concerns.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Much for answering.
And Candace.
Hello, sorry for interruption. For Marine's question, I think there can be a solution. You just bring your own alcohol spray and spray on it, and let them see it's being sprayed, it's being cleaned, so they still can use it. So that's one solution that you can take into consideration. That's how I do, because I always bring my own container and also my own cup. Thank you. The second question.
Okay. Candace.
Hi, you made a great presentation. I really enjoyed it. And my question is, a small group of people suggest that, not that I'm supportive, that human is the biggest pest on Mother Earth, and COVID is actually Earth's immune system. Do you think COVID decreased pollution in long term, since human consumption caused environmental harm? And during the pandemic, less traffic, less consumption, and people are using plastic bags and plastic bottles and eating out anyway. So what do you think about this statement?
Okay. Like I present in before, COVID actually have a positive and negative effect on the environment. So that won't be a problem of long term or short term. And since human. And the last question is, I don't get it. Since human consumption.
Yes, I mean, because of the lockdown, there are less traffic, less consumption. Do you think it do not cause that pollution?
Sorry, can I say the last two words again? I didn't hear.
I mean, do you think it's actually do more good than harm to the environment?
I think you have to, depends on what perspective you stand on. Like for the air pollution, it really did plunge down for a while. But for the like medical waste, those boxes are really still is become a huge problem because during the pandemic the numbers of that are increased before the pandemic, and I think that will be a situation in the future, even at the end of the pandemic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ruth.
Hi, April. Your presentation is nice.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask you, since more and more countries decide to coexist with COVID, and people now can enjoy outdoor activities like before. For example, they may go to beaches. Do you think the negative influence on the environment will get more serious because too many people are in one place at the same time?
I don't think it would become a more negative influence on the environment, because before the pandemic, people still go out. And now, because we have to coexist with the COVID, so everything is back to normal. It's not changed. Yes, and this is my answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And Evan.
Okay, I can rephrase my questions. So
Okay.
I want to ask, do you think the environmental benefit that the lockdown brings can outweigh the negative side?
Like when we are during the lockdown, people cannot go out, so they were buying food or shopping online. So those packing will appear. So, but on the other hand, people cannot go out, so those cars or public transportations disappear. So the air pollution will plunge down, and this is like two sides. If we stay at home, those pollution will plunge down, but those garbage of boxes and plastic will sold again. But when we can go outside of our home, then the air pollution will sold again. But maybe the boxes and those packaging things will not become that a huge proportion of the whole pollution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And JD.
I like your presentation. It is your PPT is colorful and interesting. Okay, so my question is: there's a statement says, because of the pandemic, Earth began to restoring and recovering itself, like the ozone hole becomes smaller. So, what do you think about this situation? Is COVID really damaging the environment wholly?
I think in some part it damaged the environment, but in another part it also protect the environment, because at the beginning of the COVID, those airplanes cannot fly in the sky, so it really helped the environment to get to a better situation. But now we are after these 2 years, everything is almost back to normal, and so it did have some good things on the environment, but it did have some bad effect on the environment. Yeah, like I present those packaging things and plastic bags will produce, but the air qualities will be great. But now the air quality is back to normal. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Nina.
Yes, hello, April.
Hi.
You did a great job. And my question is, plastic bags are inevitable for people who are on a lockdown now. Do you have any suggestions on how to improve this situation?
Maybe I think the only situation for me I can think about is maybe you have to prepare your own containers, and you can give to those deliver, then they can use your containers to buy your food, or those food stands will provide their own containers, and they will deliver to your home. Then after you finish it, you wash it and give it back to the shops, the stores. Yes, that's the solution I can think about.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ethan.
You mentioned a lot of different ways produced during the COVID-19 pandemic, like the plastic bag, something like
Yes.
other different races. And I want to ask that, what do you think of the hidden message behind the huge amounts of waste? Do you think it's a catastrophe caused by our adoption of capitalism?
I don't think that have some message behind the COVID, because this thing is happened and this spread around the world. What we can do is to try our best to maybe to protect the environment and also protect ourselves to not get infected. Yes, did I answer your question?
Let me rephrase it to like more simple. Do you think that COVID caused people to acknowledge that we generate a huge amount of waste in our daily life?
You mean because of COVID, then we generate a huge amount of waste?
No, like COVID caused people to get to know more about the waste we generate daily.
Oh, yes. Yes, because people cannot, because of lockdown and people cannot go out. So we were ordering food online or buying things online. And that this phenomenon really shows that those, like, for example, like airplane, before the pandemic is fine for the, before the pilot is carrying the people, but now during the pandemic, before the pilot is carrying the cargoes. So we can tell that it really produced a lot of those packing things because of the COVID-19.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that really, yeah, that really makes people aware of this situation. And Paul.
Hi, bro. So I have a question that for food delivery services, what do you think people can do to deal with the use of plastic stuff? So which is similar to Nina's question. Yeah.
Yes, I think my answer will be also as the answer I answered Nina, but maybe you just use the maybe you just, even like when it's not the lockdown situation, you can go out to buy food in your own, not for the food delivery service. Or the most important part is to bring your own containers. I think that would, yeah, that's more effective. Yes.
Yep, thank you.
And the last one is Sandy.
Okay, my question is, do you think after the COVID, the problems of plastic stuff or the
any harmful problems to the environment will be declined after the COVID? Because this kind of question is actually exists for a long time.
Yes. I think this situation is more serious when during the pandemic, but I think it will not be it will not back to those old day. People will still, after the pandemic, at the end of pandemic, people will still have the problems of those plastic bags. I think this is a phenomenon for the future because it's too convenient. So people cannot refuse it because it's too convenient, especially during the pandemic. We found out that it's convenient. Yes.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that is all I answered the question.
Yes, April, thank you very much. It's
Thank
a
you.
good topic. And because some of them have not raised questions, so they just ask you all. You are the last one to ask questions, so you got.
Yes, I found there are so many questions.
Like 8 or. I like your topic, and I think some of your peer asked a good question. This pandemic did actually force, especially those who are more aware of the ecosystem, to think more about our relationship with Earth, our relationship with the creature on Earth, and also the living environment. So I have to say that we human beings are very egocentric, and we have to remind ourselves not to do this. And as English major, I think we are more aware of this. And so I hope for all the English major, or at least you who join this section, will think more, because today there are several very good topics on like renewable energy, and also like plastic products, etc. These are all very good topics close up to our life. And I really appreciate like your Q&A and also your presentation. And I think I'm quite lucky because almost all of you show your very gentle way to show appreciation of others asking questions, and also thank others for asking questions and also explanation. I think this is a very good cycle here. So for the time being, it's very nice and I enjoy very much. And we end very early today. I believe other sections also did that, right? It's not even 4. I want to do the roll call again, and I take a picture. So could you please all turn on your camera? And I want to remind you that by 5:30, the question form, will be terminated and won't accept. So please remember, you all have these very good questions, and remember to upload them to, type them to the Google form, all right? So let me count again. There actually should be 16, including me, 17. Still one is missing. Who is missing? Cadence is here, so who is not here? Only 16 here. Oh, okay. So who is here on the lower, because you're a little bit dark, so may I know who you are? The one next to Angel. Not Nina. So what's your name? Hello?
Maybe Paul.
Yeah, that's Paul. Okay. Paul is next to you, right? Okay. All right, let me take a screenshot. 3, 2, 1. Okay, again, and cheese, all right? and then you can show some pause or whatever and have a little bit of fun because you have done a great job. So 3, 2, 1, let me take it again. Okay. Do you have any question for this week and the past week presentation? Or any more question needs to be asked, please do it now. If not, we will call it a day and then you can take a very good rest. And I want to remind those who should present next week, please make sure that you upload your PowerPoint slide the day before your presentation. If you really cannot do it, upload it in the morning, that's fine. But please don't postpone it, otherwise I will deduct your points, all right? Because on my assessment slide, I need to mark whether you give me the PowerPoint slide in time. And for week 3, it will be Sandy Liu, JD Liu, Maureen Lin, Jeremy Huang, and Paul Dai. Okay, Paul to do the presentation. So, do you have any question? If not, I will call it a day. And please remind that I want to remind you that for Dana's section, remember you have to send your teacher the question. All right. So it's not necessary for you to upload the form. And please, I also want to remind you that the day that your peer presents, it's the day that you should email your peer and also your homeroom teacher the peer review form, because few of you might not do it. So some teacher, I need to remind you again, right? You will have to send your homeroom teacher the peer review form and your peer review results report at the same time in the same email, all right, to your homeroom teacher. So please do it, because your peer presented today and finished, so you should do it. Any other issues? If not, thank you very much. So please take a good rest. And I know that you're all very busy with your final presentation, report, etc. And congratulations for those who have already finished. All right, you did a good job. And thank you for Section A presenter. I will see you next week. And keep health and drink more water, all right? I saw you, some of you drinking water. That's very nice. I did not remind you, and please do it right after this session if you have not done with it. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next week. Bye-bye there. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.